That's the secret to business. Think of everything. Leave no stone unturned. Do I do that every time? No. Do I try? Yes. And does it get better every time? Yes. And that's what me and Aaron try and work towards every time, I think, right?
Boy, I thought I was a salesman, but yeah, I mean, it's incredible.
I've been begging you to put me on the show.
I said, Diana, I can't have you on the show. You're my wife, but you're my business partner, and you've been great to PCG. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest today on the Passive Cash Flow Podcast. Say hello, Diana Brown.
Hello, Diana Brown.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today my guest is Diana Brown, owner of Dagny Property Management and owner of my heart, because she is my wife and she does manage our short-term rentals here at People's Capital Group. So, Diana, tell us a little bit about how you got started and your experience in short-term leasing.
Okay, so yeah, how did I get started? Well, Aaron, it was a Saturday, June 3rd, 1989, 4:04 a.m., Ridgewood, New Jersey, Valley Hospital. The two people that took me home that day, I don't know if you've met them, their names are Mark and Diane.
Sound familiar?
They are my parents. They are both real estate brokers since before that day in 1989 and still to this day. They both own their own real estate companies. My mom's residential, my dad's commercial, so it's not competitive, but try telling them that.
Huh.
And basically, they taught me a lot. Like, I would say 90%, 98% of everything I know about property management, I learned from my parents. And so my first tip for anyone interested in property management is vendor management. It's one of the most important things of property management, short-term or otherwise. And I'll say one thing, my mom is the queen of vendors. I don't know anyone with more loyal vendors than her, except for maybe my dad. So, and he's a guy that knows a guy. So listen, I have always just watched what they were doing and throughout my life. And I'm, like if you did the math, I'm 31. And so not only that, I also did work for real estate companies, corporate real estate companies, real estate development companies. I've been doing this for quite a long time. Well, not quite a long, really not that long, 12 years. So my next tip is cross-pollination. For the best short-term rental property management, you really need to take from other industries. You can't just live in a vacuum of property management. So again, growing up, we went on extravagant vacations to Las Vegas, Disney World, Palm Springs, London. I mean, I'm so fortunate to have been to just some of the best hotels in the world, some of the most taken care of properties in the world. Something that my late grandfather always said was, no matter where you are on a property. And
I love that line.
Mm-hmm, okay. Absolutely. It absolutely informed so much of my life. And honestly, every single thing that I've ever experienced in my life, I incorporate into my business. Customer service, again, right back to just how fortunate I was to grow up in Bergen County and with so many fine dining establishments and just the world-class service that I've experienced. And, my brother is actually a manager of a Roots Steakhouse. So I take that type of service quality and I bring it into short-term rental management. I have the guests really, with me. I'm with them. I'm managing their expectations.
They're engaged.
There you go. That's the word. They're engaged.
Absolutely.
So that's a little bit of a background, a little bit of how I do what I do.
Wow. Very talkative guest. Incredible. Diana, no, you do very good work with our short-term leasing. So People's Capital Group owns 2 properties up in rural New England that Diana manages. And it's just incredible what you've done with the amount we get per night. the amount of vacancies we have. We pretty much have 0 vacancies. We're one of those, you ever go on Airbnb, if you've been on Airbnb, you know that some of them are Superhosts, which are very desirable. Not only are we Superhosts, but we also have rare find next to our listings on Airbnb because they are leased so much. So one of the things we do is that we get it leased up so much when we first buy a property by pricing it well, but also making it an attractive property with a brand and give the whistles and the bells that the guests are looking for in that demographic. And then on top of that, you know, we'll get it leased out with our good service here. Diana gets it leased out so much that it becomes a rare find. And then, of course, we can increase slightly rates from there. So that's a little tip as well with short-term leasing.
And to your point there, Aaron, about the selection process and all of that. So that brings me to my tip number 3 of short-term property management. So short-term property management is really best done with a certain type of property called a destination property. So not an apartment, not a condo, you know, not like a house here in, you know, a regular neighborhood. It's a destination. People are coming to be on vacation. Those are the people that pay the most. So tip number 3 is it's your bottom line. You are starting this when you look for the property. You are not starting this after you bought the property. You need to make sure that it makes sense from the beginning, which is why I think that PCG, I mean, I'll just go back to the very beginning, the first day that I ever saw Aaron at the NJREN, what is it, NJREN?
RESN.
RESN.
We are NJREN.
It's John Steingraber's thing. And John Steingraber wasn't there that day. He asked Aaron to fill in, and it was a good thing that he did because it was the one day I was there, and the rest is history. And when I remember seeing Aaron talk so enthusiastically about real estate investment, I said, I know what I want to do with my career, and it sounds like this guy is doing or talking about, or talking a big game, at least, which is, you know.
What was the topic? What was the topic?
The topic was called Fake It Till You Make It.
I love that topic.
But
I give a great Fake It Till You Make It presentation.
Well, listen, not for nothing, but yeah, fake it till you make it. Nobody needs to know, like, you know, what you've done in the past. The past is nothing. Like, if
once you do some stuff, you start to talk about it. But yeah, until you
good things you've done in the past, or even bad things done in the past. Sometimes everyone has a story, and stories are marketing, so you can spin it anyway. I don't want to get off topic, but my point is that you need to take risks. You need to reimagine when you see a property, and that's part of property management. Is being able to look at a property and say, how can this be the highest performing property? How can this perform to its highest potential? And just second naturally, I guess you could say, just like my whole entire life, as you know, I'd be in the car, you know, my mom driving me around like dance class or whatever, and I'm looking at properties. Not only that, but she's talking too, and she's saying, look at that one, look at that one. And, you know, we would go to these hotels. We've been to all the Wynn hotels, Steve Wynn hotels in Las Vegas. That has inspired so much of what I put into these properties. My company of Dagny not just does property management, hospitality management, we also do project management. We make sure that the property has what it needs for a top guest experience before it gets marketed online to a booking platform. That's super important. It's very important. I learned that at an early age, and I'm very, very grateful. And, you know, I know this is a business podcast, but I'm a Christian, and as a Christian, I feel as though the things that I was so fortunate to have just been born straight into, like, if I don't use this, what was it for? So again, I feel very strongly about this, and I never give less than 110 when it comes to this. I have only had, I don't know if Aaron's told you, I've only had 2 guests that I had to give refunds to, okay, since 2018. You know why? Because I figured out, like, what are people complaining about? Why are they complaining about it? Here's a great story. In the wintertime, I get lots of women my age texting me saying stuff is broken in the unit and stuff like that. Well, is it the middle of a day on a ski day? I asked them, oh, you didn't go skiing? Oh, would you like the number and address of the spa, or would you like some suggestions for, local bars, restaurants to go hang out in? They're bored. There's nothing wrong with the stuff in the unit. They don't like to ski, which is why, one of the things Dagny Enterprises is actually investing in the southern Vermont area is non-skier entertainment, because there is a market for that. There's demand, absolutely. So it's really just about really vibing with people and trying to understand, why are they upset? Because it's usually not what they say it is. And I'm not saying that to discount what people say, because I'm a listener. Okay, if you tell me something, I'm going to listen to what you're saying, but I'm also going to try and get down to the heart of it, is like, why are you saying it? Go ahead, what?
I was just going to say, you seem like a talker and a listener, so I'm going to give you points for both.
There's something in the real estate business called the gift of gab. Have you ever heard of it, Aaron?
Diana, I think we both have the gift of gab.
I think that's true. But so that's that.
So, no, Diana, I've seen you work in a lot of different industries. You've also worked for us for a number of years. You've done our leasing in our apartment buildings. You've done other parts of our business. You've done Section 8 leasing for a while.
Ooh, that's really good. Okay, so here's another, I have felt this calling, really my whole entire life, but I didn't know what it was. I didn't know, until Airbnb came on the scene and short-term rentals became much more mainstream. That's when I realized that this was something that I may have missed the boat on. I probably should have invented Airbnb, because I've always known that this was a thing. You know why else? People feel good on vacation. People have less complaints on vacation. I don't take business travelers for that reason alone. Are people happy when they're on business travel? No, because they're working.
People spend money on vacation too.
They spend a lot of money. In fact, that's why I have I've done a lot of, this is all day long. I just do the numbers. I'm just trying to figure out, where do I lose people? Where do I get people? Who are the best people? Who are the best behaving and who don't break things and don't complain and they pay the highest? We spend a lot of time. I'm obsessed with this data. I personally am obsessed with this data because, again, tip number 3, we are in this for the money. It's the bottom line, okay? As much as I feel this is a calling on my life, I want the company to be profitable because it has I have real estate partners. Have you guys ever heard of the company Marriott? I'm sure you've heard of. They don't own any of the hotels. They have real estate partners. So I want Dagny to be similar to Marriott, providing internationally well-known service, but with real estate partners. And instead of hotels, they're all single-family homes, because that's what People's Capital Group is the best. And I chose the best partners. And so
what we figured out is that you need to find a niche in this space. We have found that people like getting away 4 hours from New York, 2 hours from Boston, rural New England, near world-class ski resorts. And we have found that you don't even have to be on the mountain, just near the mountains. And
other attractions.
And other attractions. Give the guests the whistles and bells they're looking for, the hot tub, the land, the hiking trails. And that's our niche. And each property has its own brand. Maybe it's a ski home or a farmhouse or a little town that they're in near some bars and things like that. And by having that brand for your space and the high level of expertise that you have in the customer service, the constant back and forth to make sure the guest is pleased and giving them ideas of where to go and spend their time and go out to eat and all those fun things, you help give that service. So, what I found was that the space of doing long-term rentals, Section 8 leasing, apartment building repositioning in New Jersey here is a completely different type of management compared to hospitality management. Obviously, you still want to have that care for the tenant, that notice to detail, but at the end of the day, you're really dealing with a completely different clientele, a different experience. You're moving people in and out, sometimes 2 groups in 1 week. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, but it allows us to make 3 times what we're making in cash flow, at least on our New Jersey apartments here. So, Diana started teaming up with us about 2 years ago doing this, and the statistics are incredible. You have something like 500 more leasing days than competitors, right? You're something like that.
So not to brag, but I am the top property manager in Southern Vermont. There's no one else renting as many days as me. There just isn't. And there's proof of that. The data is I have 500% more days booked than the very next host under me in Southern Vermont. What were the other statistics? I had, oh my gosh. This one blows me away. I can't even believe. See, here's the thing. We grew up here in this fast-paced New York City, New Jersey market where it's very competitive. Everyone here is a realtor, okay? So being able to take our skills to a market where, I was able to really quickly network. I mean, as you can tell, I'm a talker, and I'm very good at making friends. One of the things, and that brings me to my tip number 4, actually, of short-term real estate property management. You have to understand what kind of business you're in. You sound like you're in the real estate business, but guess what business you're really in?
Oh, I know the answer to this.
Okay.
You are in the hospitality business.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting guess. Mm-hmm. But no, we are in the eyeball business.
Oh, mm-hmm. Man.
So Aaron and Seth are the ones that go ahead and get us the properties, and then we get people to be on the properties because, again, remember, no matter where you are, you're on a property. And when they're at this property, I have their eyeballs. I have their cell phone number. I have their email address. This is an eyeball business. I'm able to pass along half of the industry standard management fee to my investors. It's usually 20%. I charge them 10%. Why? Because I'm doing my business. I know how my business is making money. And it's not from 10% of management. It's from other sales, suggesting to people, having affiliate partnerships with people I've networked, having upsells. That's a new thing we're adding. Dagny is in the process of developing its own custom app. And this will enable even more upsells and streamline processes to decrease all of our overhead costs and expenses because it's all streamlined. So bottom line, and also realizing what business you're in, where's the money coming from and why.
So your tips from a superhost. Mm-hmm. Let's go over just the top 4 tips there. Just what are the top titles that are your 4 tips?
Oh, that I had written down here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and again, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is how you can become a superhost. If you want to become a superhost, really all you have to do is just play the game. Have a good listing, good photos, be attentive on your app. Make sure you get the first 3 bookings in right away and make sure they are all 5-star reviews, and ask people to give you a 5-star review. Say, hi, we're trying to build up our profile. Would you mind giving us a 5-star review? If you're not comfortable with that, could you please let me know? And I'll, and then we continue on with the conversation. And I don't give a refund because I say, I find other ways to make people happy without giving away money for a service they paid for.
Well, first of all, give them the experience they paid for, right? Make sure the property is what the pictures look like. Make sure the guest services are there. If there,
that's what I'm saying. That's why I don't give away refunds. I find other ways to make people happy because they paid for a service, and I know that the service is the value that they paid for. So that's how you be a superhost. It's actually much easier to become a superhost. But if you'd like to be an extremely competitive, high-performing property, short-term rental property manager, these are the things you need to do. 1, vendor management. Okay, you have to have the best vendors. They have to be extremely loyal to you, and you have to be able to pay them the way they want to be paid. Number 2, and you have to have more than one of every single thing. Number 2 is to cross-pollinate. So you definitely want to not only just read books about property management, just like live your life. go to a Broadway show. Well, you can't now, actually. Well, watch it online or something like that. Go. I was going to say go stay at one of the best hotels, but you can't do that either. So go for a walk and get some other ideas that's not property management.
Whatever you do, don't watch the news.
God. Fine dining, you can do some of that. Listen, anywhere there's service being done, that's great. You can take that and learn from someone else's the way they're doing it and then use it in your way. You're going to be the only one in your industry doing it that way. Literally, that's what's happening here. I'm the only one doing that because I'm from New York City. Nobody else in Southern Vermont is providing New York City level type of service. We expect things a certain way. So anyway, number 3 is bottom line. We are here to make money. It's fun. It's a calling. It's exciting and creative. But if you're not making any money, then this is not a business. So you need to make sure that you're making money. You can do that by streamlining processes. You definitely want to always step out in faith. That's just my personal thing. Take risks. The word of the year for me has been reimagine. The word of the year for 2020. And I say it to Aaron every single day, and he hates it now. But I reimagine everything. If I hit a brick wall, the answer is, you know what, guys? We need to reimagine this. And then we figure it out and come up with like a third better solution. Number 4 is you got to know what kind of business you're in. I'm in the eyeball business, which means I need to have real estate partners with buying power. And, that's what I saw in Aaron the first day I saw him. And then I married him.
Well, luckiest guy in the world over here, but let me give some tips as well as a real estate investor that has branched now into the Airbnb space over the last 2 to 3 years. The first thing we did was recognize where can we get a great deal, where Airbnb rules are not likely to change and where people pay a lot to vacation to. And we found a good market we like very well, which I'm not going to say out loud because we're giving it away. Although I think you did say it in the podcast already. So we gave away the special sauce, but that's okay. Don't say it. It'll be top secret.
We've been talking about we've been talking about it for a while.
Yeah, we focus on near world-class ski resorts. And it's incredible the returns you can make in those areas if it's done right. But it is different than if I didn't have Diana, it wouldn't work. If I didn't have you to manage.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet, Aaron.
No doubt about it. And it's not like a realtor either. Like a realtor will list your stuff, your property and then exit. It's not like that. When they're there for the weekend or the week, they have consistent demands, your guests, and you'll need to answer them to make sure you remain as a super host and keep that 5-star review and make sure your guests are happy.
2 points I just remembered in what you were talking about. Sorry, I'm a talker. We all know. One, all of my rates, every single one of my nightly rates is double or more what top producing licensed realtors are renting similar or better homes for. When I tell you that I'm currently renting a 3-bed, 2-bath prefab, we will call it, home, 1-story home, for the same rates that a top producing realtor in the same market is renting a mansion for, a full mansion. So I know we've got a secret sauce. Aaron had talked about a secret sauce. I got to tell you something, folks. There is no secret sauce. I am identifying markets all over this country that have this type of potential. And the secret sauce is think of everything. That's the secret to business. Think of everything. Leave no stone unturned. Do I do that every time? No. Do I try? Yes. And does it get better every time? Yes. And that's what me and Aaron try and work towards every time, I think, right?
Boy, I thought I was a salesman, but it's incredible. I've
been begging you to put me on the show.
I said, Diana, I can't have you on the show. You're my wife, but you're my business partner, and you've been great to PCG. So because of Diana.
PCG's been great to me.
PCG
my first open house, PCG. My first open house. So,
here's an example. Let's put the numbers on the table because I'm a numbers guy.
Okay.
I bought a property in Vermont on 4 acres, and I spent $60,000 on it. I invested another $30,000 or so in furniture and renovations, and another $10,000 in operating costs. So let's say I'm into it for $100,000. True story here. Diana got this property to earn, what was it, $6,000 in gross revenue last month. So $6,000 in gross revenue from a home. For example, we have a six-family in Newark. We have plenty of real estate, but in Newark we have a six-family. We get about $6,500 gross revenue from that six-family in Newark. Now that building's worth about $700,000, and we didn't pay that for it. We paid a fraction of that, but the bottom line is, it's ridiculous that you could buy a property for $100,000, you're into it for completely, and it's making $6,000 in gross revenue per month. Now, this is a super hot time. Everyone's trying to get out of New York and New Jersey for the time and get away to the mountains, so we do see a lot of energy there. But even before this pandemic, there was a lot of activity for these short-term rentals in rural New England. And boy, it's just like you look at something like that, and you watch your nightly rate double in the space of 4 or 5 months when this pandemic's going on. The light bulb went off, and I said, holy mackerel, the rent is double. That's like owning a six-family, and the rent doubles over a 4-month period. That thing would be a cash cow. So just incredible. We were doing okay before, but now it's just really on fire. So we're moving more of our resources up there with Diana in place, with the infrastructure and the management. It really helps us with all our boots on the ground. We can effectively buy, renovate, and lease these properties.
Yeah. And to your point, and I know that PCG, and a lot of listeners probably very familiar with PCG's strategy. I certainly am, because I've heard every single podcast. It's buy, renovate, lease, refinance, right?
In fact, I have
it's the refinance.
Many different topics. I've had many different guests.
But let me tell you one thing about this type of property, a destination property. When Aaron sent me the first spreadsheet, and I looked at all the things, and then I looked at the term that said net on refi. And it wasn't the type of net on refi that PCG is typically accustomed to earning. But again, I can't stop myself. I'm a Christian. It took me back to the story of Peter and Andrew on the boat, and they didn't get any fish, and they had their net in the water, and they had no fish that day. They were giving up for the day. And Jesus went over them and said, put your net on the other side of the boat. And they said, Jesus, there's no fish over there. He said, put your fish on the other side of the boat. I'm Jesus, you idiots. He didn't say that, but guess what they did? They put their net on the other side, and they pulled it up, and for the first time ever, and the whole town was shocked, that net was full of fish. And when I saw net on refi, I thought, put your net on the other side. The cash flow is where the net goes for these destination properties. That's where the money is for this. And I guess, not to toot my own horn, but it is because of me, because I did a really good job.
Well, you can't just enter a market and start buying properties without a management strategy in place.
Mm-hmm. So, this wasn't day one. Our whole careers have been like this. So we were taking years of experience in a more competitive market and bringing it to a place that seemed untapped.
And we started slow. We bought one in 2018. Absolutely. We bought one in 2019. We made our mistakes. We perfected the system. Mm-hmm. We fired the service providers that didn't show up. And we figured out who we're going to use for all these different things. We probably cycled through, 3 or 4 cleaning services, right? So
not that many.
Right. But basically at the end of the day, we cycled through 2, I guess, kind of. But, and that's the process of figuring out your boots on the ground, those good services in that area. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, executing the hospitality end of it is huge also.
That whole time was so important for me to understand my processes and how to replicate them, which is why we're making the app, because we said, okay, we figured it out. Now here's how we replicate it. Nobody's flying right now. So you really want to drive. Everyone's driving. And some, there's a certain number of hours that has been identified by data that people are willing to drive. And those are the markets that I'm looking into based on our demographic of our target audience. So there you go.
And the markets we're buying in right now are so hot. It's crazy. It's hard to find. We couldn't find an appraiser for 2 months out. to find a good plumber takes another 2 months. It's crazy the demand, how hot these little rural markets are right now. And again, I think when things cool down, the demand is still going to be there. It was there before, and it's so hot right now that even years from now, I believe that people, my opinion of Corona here a little bit, it's a little bit like 9/11, like things are going to change forever, right? You never got on an airplane the same way again. So, I think people are going to be scared to fly. People are, for a long period of time, people are going to prefer driving vacations and just getting away too, getting away for a weekend, getting away, to go enjoy yourself, for a getaway to rural New England is just beautiful out there, especially as the seasons change.
Nothing like it. Yeah. Every market in the Dagny criteria, the number one point of criteria is scenery. It has to be there. People don't drive someplace that's ugly. Like if you're gonna have a bad experience getting to your vacation, you're gonna take a plane. You know what I mean? That's a bad experience getting to your destination, is taking a plane, right? Who loves taking a plane? Nobody. It's terrible. You have to wake up at 6 a.m., stand in line for 2 hours. That's terrible. What if you just got in your own car with people you like or half like and only go as far as you're willing to go to find world-class accommodations?
And, we've gone to all-inclusives and been treated nicely by concierge and things like that. And that's something you're also trying to bring into your hospitality service is you're going to start offering the concierge service. You sell branded products while you're coming out.
We're actually hiring for that now. Anyone listening, I have some, my brother's like a really good concierge, but he has a full-time job. But so, taking applications for the concierge.
Yeah, exactly. So, most of our listeners are looking for concierge jobs. That's what we're looking for.
Hey, you got to put it out there.
You never know.
Was there anything else you wanted to know, Aaron?
Diana, this has been an amazing podcast. I think we just dropped a lot of information on our listeners.
We dropped a lot of information.
This is different than our usual podcast.
It was.
The guest has taken over, and I really enjoyed listening
to
everything you say. So,
to close, I just wanted to share with you a special story about short-term rentals. This is I don't know if you know the history of short-term rentals, but the very first short-term rental that was ever transacted in human history. A young pregnant woman went to an inn and they didn't have any more rooms. And they said, "We have another unit out back that you can use." So I just want to tell you that the first human in the entire world who ever needed an Airbnb was Jesus Christ. Just saying.
I mean, I like that story when you tell it. I love your commitment and
I really feel this is a calling for me.
Your faith. I love that. You could see the faith my wife has that she also has instilled in me, which is great. It's nice to have that. And but I'm going to counter your story with saying that technically then a lot of people were born in Airbnbs for millenniums. Because most people, would have a scenario like that. But that's a different conversation.
That's not true.
No?
No. You're telling me there's another 2,055-year-old story of someone finding non-traditional lodging for a short amount of time, for a short-term stay?
And you know what another lesson?
Show me that story.
Here's another lesson we learned today. A lesson about marriage. Pick your battles. All right, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Pick your battles, okay? If you're not really sure what you just said to your wife and it doesn't make her very happy, just agree with the next thing she says. Because, as they say, happy wife, happy life. Anyway, that's enough for now. My name's Aaron Fragnito. I'm the host of the Passive Cash Flow Podcast, co-owner of People's Capital Group. You can go to peoplescapitalgroup.com to fill out an application. Now, here's the thing. If you want to get invested in these short-term rentals, the returns are phenomenal. They're really hot investments right now. We have a lot of interest in them. They are fully funded right now, but we are finding more. We're bringing them on the books. We're going to be offering it out to private qualified investors. But to get on that list, you have to go to peoplescapitalgroup.com. You have to fill out an application on our website. Then we'll get back to you is if you qualify to be a passive investor with People's Capital Group. And if you do qualify, we can review one of these properties we're bringing on and putting out to our private qualified investor list. So go to peoplescapitalgroup.com, fill out the qualification form. Let's get in touch. Let's see if you do qualify to start earning passive income, whether it's a property in rural New England, we're doing Airbnbs, or even an apartment building in New Jersey where we get phenomenal returns as well, which most of my content is about. Please go to our website there. You can learn more. That's it for now. Any parting words, Diana Brown?
Thank you so much for having me, Aaron.
Thank you, Diana. You're an amazing guest and even a better partner.